What's the most unreasonable crash out you've ever seen? Everyone thought Zayden was a little weird for collecting Pokemon, but what he did to our teacher changed the rest of our lives. Zayden, who sat 2 rows behind me in Mrs. Jimenez's 5th grade class. Mrs. Jimenez was literally the best teacher anyone could ask for, and what Zayden did to her still makes my stomach turn. Mrs. Jimenez was one of those teachers who actually cared about every single student. She had this prize box filled with candy and little toys that she'd let us pick from when we did well on tests. If you were struggling with homework, she'd stay after school to help you understand it better. She even called parents with good news when kids improved their grades, which was huge because most teachers only called for bad stuff. Zayden was obsessed with Pokemon cards. He brought his binder to school every day and spent recess trading with other kids instead of playing basketball or tag. His grades were terrible because he'd draw Pokemon during lessons and sneak peeks at his cards under his desk. Mrs. Jimenez caught him multiple times, but instead of taking the cards away, she tried to work with his interests. In early December, Mrs. Jimenez announced something that changed everything. She said whoever had the best grades by Christmas break would get a special surprise gift from her. She made it clear this wasn't about who was already smart, but who showed the most improvement and effort. Zayden's eyes lit up because he immediately assumed it would be Pokemon cards. From that day forward, Zayden completely transformed. He stopped bringing his card binder to school and actually paid attention during lessons. At recess, he'd sit inside doing extra math problems while the rest of us played in the snow. He raised his hand constantly asking questions and turned in homework early, asking if he could do extra credit assignments. The change was so dramatic that other kids started noticing. Zayden went from failing spelling tests to getting perfect scores. His handwriting improved because he was actually trying instead of scribbling. During group projects, he became the leader, making sure everyone understood their parts. Mrs. Jimenez praised him constantly and called his mom twice to share the good news. By the last week before break, it was obvious Zayden would win. He'd gone from D's and F's to straight A's in just 3 weeks. He talked non-stop about what Pokemon cards Mrs. Jimenez might give him. He researched which card sets were available in stores and made lists of the rarest cards he hoped to get. Some kids tried to tell him it might not be Pokemon cards, but he wouldn't listen. On the last day before Christmas break, Mrs. Jimenez held a little party. She gave out candy canes and we played educational games. At the end, she called Zayden to the front of the room. She handed him a wrapped box about the size of a shoebox and told him how proud she was of his hard work. Zayden's hands were shaking as he held the present. Mrs. Jimenez said he could open it at home and share what it was after break. Zayden looked disappointed, but thanked her and carefully put the gift in his backpack. We all went home excited for 2 weeks off from school. I figured Zayden would post about his cards online since most of our class followed each other on social media. That night, everything exploded on Instagram and TikTok. Zayden had posted a video ranting about Mrs. Jimenez that made everyone uncomfortable. He was literally crying and screaming at his phone camera. The gift was a Pokemon holiday calendar box, which at the time costed $70, but Zayden was furious because it contained promo cards and stickers instead of booster packs with rare cards. He called Mrs. Jimenez horrible names that I won't repeat. He said she'd tricked him and wasted his time making him study for nothing. He showed the promo cards, throwing them around his room, saying they were worthless. He kept repeating that all his effort was for nothing, and that he'd given up playing with friends for garbage cards. The rant went on for 10 minutes, getting worse with each second. The comments on his video were brutal. Kids from class told him he was ungrateful and spoiled. Parents who followed the class accounts were disgusted by how he talked about Mrs. Jimenez, but Zayden doubled down, posting more videos saying Mrs. Jimenez needed to face consequences for lying to him. He said he had plans to make things right when school started again. Most of us forgot about it over break, assuming Zayden was just being dramatic. He'd probably apologize when school started, and everything would go back to normal. I didn't think much about it while opening my own presents and enjoying the holidays. Zayden had always been a little weird about his Pokemon cards, so this seemed like typical behavior until it wasn't. I got to school late on the first day back because of unexpected traffic. The parking lot was weirdly empty, and I had to run to make it before the bell. When I walked into class, everyone was crying. Kids had their heads down on their desks, and others were hugging each other. Even the tough kids who never showed emotion had red eyes. I looked around, confused, until a girl named Alicia grabbed my arm. Her face was covered in tears as she stared at me. "You didn't hear about the accident?"